Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Walking Crypto. My name is Taylor, and I walk and talk crypto. Just to let you know, this is not financial advice. This is simply me talking about what is money and what is cryptocurrency and why do I like it. And that's what we're going to get to in this video. Okay, so this is the first in a series about Bitcoin. And before we can even get to Bitcoin, we got to ask a fundamental question. What is money? Okay, everyone knows money is something you can use to go buy stuff with. It's a medium of exchange. So if you go to the store, you exchange your dollars, you get some goods, you get some services. It works fine for that, for the most part. But what else do you want to do with money? You might want to save. You go to work or you do a job and you put value into the world for somebody, and in turn they give you dollars. And if you don't want to spend that money right now, you want to save it for later. You want to store your value for the future, for your future, for your kids' future, for future consumption in some way. What we see is that over time, dollars lose purchasing power. Okay? A can of Coke in 1950 was 5 cents. A can of Coke today is almost $2. 5 cents 70 years ago got you more than 5 cents can get you now. So, if you're saving your dollars for future consumption, you're actually losing purchasing power over time. It's slow. So over the first year, 10 years, you might not notice it. But in 50 years, when you go to retire, you're going to notice that your savings account, the number has gone up, but the amount of goods and services, the amount of value that you have stored over time has actually decreased. So while dollars are fine as a medium of exchange to buy goods now and a few weeks from now, it is a poor store of value. In fact, it's not just a poor store of value, it's not one. The value that you put into the world today and retain as income, it disappears over time. Now, why does this happen? So, the US dollar used to be backed by gold. There was a fixed amount of gold in banks, in vaults, and there's a fixed amount of dollars corresponding to that gold. And it used to say on dollar bills, redeemable for X amount of gold, which meant that you could go to a bank and you could redeem your dollars for gold. We're out here, beautiful upstate New York morning, just taking a walk. And the gold standard in the US has gone through several iterations over the past 100 years. But the most relevant to us is in 1971, we were taken off 100% off the gold standard. As a private citizen's dollars were no longer redeemable for gold. And all of the nations around the world who had gold reserves in US banks were also now unredeemable for gold. So if foreign countries had US dollars and those dollars were a promise for a certain amount of gold, it's no longer redeemable for that. That's in a sense a default on debts from the US. The value and the purchasing power of US dollars was related to the fact that it was relatively scarce, because gold is relatively scarce. It takes a lot of effort and resources to dig up gold. So it worked fine for a while, but it's not working that way anymore. So if you want to save money for the future, you save in your savings account and you earn a small amount of interest. When the US dollar was redeemable for gold, you could not simply add more dollars to the supply. So once the United States went off the gold standard, the Federal Reserve, in conjunction with the US government, could add dollars to the supply. They could print. And maybe that's a good thing, because if you need to fund a project, you can print extra dollars, add money to the existing supply, and use those dollars to buy resources, to pay people to work. And that's a good thing, because if I print dollars today and I spend them tomorrow, they have not lost much, if any, of its purchasing power. But people like myself who want to save for the future, and by definition, saving is not spending today. It's spending many years from now. And as the supply of dollars increases, the purchasing power of those dollars go down. We're out here in Horseheads, beautiful summer morning. That's the Chemung River down there. And we're just walking, talking crypto, and enjoying life, honestly. What are we walking in today? Scarpa Spin Ultra trail running shoe. All right. Scarpa is a great footwear brand. I love them. So comfortable, very grippy sole. I'm gonna be using this in my trip to Colorado this summer. Climb some 14ers, and it has a medium wide toe box. So it's not as wide as the Ultras, but it's not super cramped and narrow like many running shoes. I love it. Scarpa gang, sponsor me, guys. Let's get it. Why can't we go back to a gold standard? Well, the decision to be on a gold standard or to go off one is made by a small group of people, made by banks and institutions, powerful people. In that way, it is a centralized authority. There's 300 million people in the United States and 7.5 billion people on the planet. If everyone had a say in the monetary policy, people might choose not to simply add dollars to the existing supply, which reduces its purchasing power over time. So, now that we addressed the question, what is money? It's a store of value and it's a medium of exchange. Now we can get to what is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a network of computers. It is a digital currency or asset, and it is decentralized. So one of the primary properties of Bitcoin is that it has a fixed supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. Currently, there are 900 Bitcoins being created every day, and once we reach the hard cap of 21 million, the creation of new Bitcoins will stop. And each of these 21 million units is divisible into 100 million additional units. So if you see that the price of Bitcoin is $34,000 and you say I can't afford one, you can buy a fraction of one. You can put in $10 and get the corresponding fraction of a Bitcoin that would purchase you. So what is stopping people from creating more than 21 million Bitcoins? Well, there's these entities, of which there are tens of thousands, called Bitcoin miners, which solve complex mathematical questions on their computers and order Bitcoin transactions. And they must order them according to the rules of Bitcoin, the primary one of which is that hard cap of 21 million. Then network validators check to see if those transactions were ordered according to the rules, and if they were not, they say, this is not Bitcoin, this is not going to be approved, and if you continue to mine transactions this way, you won't be part of the Bitcoin network. And so because the fixed supply is part of the value prospect of Bitcoin. Remember, because if something does not have a fixed supply, you can increase the supply of it and decrease the purchasing power of that asset over time. What's up? So, if Bitcoin is simply a distributed network of computers ordering transactions based on a set of rules, then those miners are incentivized to uphold the original monetary policy and the fixed cap of 21 million, because they understand that that is the value prospect of Bitcoin itself. So as soon as they start to add Bitcoins to the supply that should not exist and award them to themselves, then the network validators will recognize this and say, nope, those aren't valid, and if you continue to do it, you're just not part of the Bitcoin network. So everyone is incentivized to uphold the original prospect of it, and this can only happen because it's decentralized. If one governing body or institution could make the decision for everyone else, then they would do it, which is what we have seen with every government currency thus far. So what is happening then? If we have a fixed supply of my original paintings, they're not worth anything because no one wants them. So the Bitcoin network and the asset has to achieve a certain level of acceptance and adoption. And this is fortunately what we're seeing. It doesn't matter if it's something called Bitcoin or grass coin or called nothing at all, but it has to be a reliable, secure network that is decentralized, that enough people agree is a store of value, then it is. Because if you buy Bitcoin today and in 10 years you want to sell it for dollars or whatever is the dominant medium of exchange, because it might not be Bitcoin, then there have to be channels you can go through to do so. There are many cryptocurrency exchanges that will do this, and we have seen some big players. So Tesla, we know, bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, and they in turn sold for a profit $200 million worth of Bitcoin. And this was, according to Elon Musk, a test of the liquidity of the Bitcoin network, which it succeeded. They were able to liquidate for dollars $200 million worth of Bitcoin, and it didn't even affect the price. So it is redeemable for dollars if you choose to do so. But who else is storing their value in Bitcoin? In Ukraine, there's over 100 civil service members, equivalent to kind of like a parliament, who own Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is a publicly traded business intelligence company who had $500 million US dollars cash on their balance sheet. They converted 425 million to Bitcoin as a store of value. They issued billions of dollars of debt via convertible senior notes and bought Bitcoin. They're using it as a store of value. In coming videos, I will bring to you news as it comes out. What companies, what countries, what high net worth individuals are storing their value in Bitcoin. In future videos, we're going to get to other cryptocurrencies. Is Bitcoin the only valuable and useful crypto asset or cryptocurrency? No, it is not, but it is the base layer which we have to understand of what problem is it solving. Money is a tool, and if it is useful and optimized for all of those functions, then Bitcoin doesn't need to exist. It doesn't solve any problems, but it does, and that's what we have to understand first. And the primary one is store of value. If you want to save for the future, and you save $100,000, in 50 years when you go to retire, it's going to be worth less than it is today. So it is not a good store of value. All right, so that's going to finish off the video for today, you guys. This is really just the first in a series of my talks about the fundamental characteristics of what makes money functional in society, what makes money dysfunctional in society, and how are we going to use Bitcoin to kind of fix those ills of society. We talked about two functions that money performs: store of value, medium of exchange. We're going to get to unit of account. I hope you guys liked hearing from me. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below, and that's it, guys. Here we go. Let's get walking.